Hello, welcome back to Dash 2. We are going on our season previews, still trucking. This is the seventh team. We have the Columbus Blue Jackets. We are here with Mike after a long hiatus, but he has returned.
We're back.
He is
Ready to
rocking the Philly hot dogs on the golf course. Ice is ready shirt. Set the tone.
Setting the tone for the debut. I'm back, reporting to you live from the 80205, Denver, Colorado.
The Denver boy, the Colorado killer.
Oh,
he shows up and the sports teams die.
Yes, precisely.
All right. Speaking of sad things, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Terrible record last year, 27, 43, and 12, 66 points, 29th in the league. Overall, pretty depressing. And then, we go into the offseason, and then their best player dies in tragic fashion. Not great. We are both big Johnny Gaudreau guys. I was a Johnny Gaudreau meat rider at the age of 11. Great guy. But
he's being an undersized guy as a hockey player myself. All of us 5'9"ers and below looked up to Johnny Gaudreau. So, tragic. Rest in peace.
Yes, but I feel like if you want more coverage of that, you can get it anywhere you want.
Yeah, I want to talk about it.
Talk about Columbus as a whole, where they're at right now. Currently, they are onto their new GM. They brought in Don Waddell. He was at the Hurricanes for, I don't know, it felt like a decade, probably a decade, maybe more. So he was holding it down there. He got fired, and Columbus did their thing. They brought him in after they fired Jarmo Kekalainen for being a Finnish loser and not winning anything while he was there. Brought in Dean Evison, who was fired from the Wild last year. He was a pretty good coach. I mean, I feel like the Wild had some pretty good seasons while he was there.
Yeah.
He looks like that dude from The Office. So there's that. But as far as last season goes, I mean, they weren't – I don't know how many Columbus games you watched. I probably watched 2, and they were probably both the games the Bruins played them.
Yeah, probably. That's about it.
Not a lot going on there. I mean, even as far as like Johnny Gaudreau, like their best player, only had 60 points last year. Major down season for him, especially like 2 years removed from a 100-point season.
Yep.
Zach Werenski, 57 points as a defenseman is all right. And then it goes down to Marchenko with 42 points, Boone fucking Jenner with 35, and Voronikov, never heard of him in my life, 35 points.
Couldn't tell you his first name. 34 points, right below their captain with 35 points, the most random captain in the NHL, maybe right next to Anders Lee.
Michael Backlund. That's another one.
I guess, yeah, now that everyone's gone out of Calgary. So
that's a real Saku Koivu type of or Mikko Koivu type of captain where you're just like, why? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, makes no sense.
But I will say, Boone Jenner, if you have a fantasy league like we do, Boone Jenner is very valuable. He does all the shit. As far as goaltending goes, overall, shit year for every goaltender on this team. Elvis Merzlikins might be the biggest loser goalie in the NHL, trying to demand a trade with a 3.45 goals against average and a .897 save percentage. I don't see him getting moved anytime soon, especially with that $5 million cap hit. So I'm sure he's going to be staying in Columbus until his deal is up.
Yeah, it's tough looking at, a 3.4 GAA. Because, how much do you attribute that to the defense and the team in front of you? I feel like there have been times where Merzlikins has shown life, I guess. But, Columbus is just such a shit show. It front to back, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty much ever since Bob and Panarin left, it's kind of just been downhill, and they get worse every year.
Mm-hmm.
It's still not enough for them to win a first overall pick because Gary doesn't like them, and who wants to go to Columbus, Ohio?
Yeah.
So it's the Ohio factor that really kills this team. Offseason moves, we'll go into who's leaving. Jake Bean, who was kind of like a big deal like 3 or 4 years ago. He was in the Hurricanes system. They thought he was going to end up being a pretty decent top four defenseman and just never figured it out. He's off to Calgary. Brendan Gaunce, who has been in the NHL for a very long time but has not been very good. He's off to Minnesota. Adam Boquist, who was kind of the centerpiece of that Seth Jones trade from a few years ago, he's off to Florida. Alex Nylander, who came over at the trade deadline last year and ripped it up. I think he had like 10 goals in 18 games. Mm-hmm. And then they just let him walk to Toronto. So I'm sure him and his brother are going to, have cornrows and jerk each other off in the locker room and probably score a lot of goals this year. I feel like if you're – what was that?
That'll be fun to watch.
I know. I feel like the brother factor is always a big bonus.
Yeah.
Just because you get like they've been playing with each other their whole lives, they're gonna be super competitive. You get the Styles boys on one line. I'd like to see that in Toronto. Carson Meyer off to Anaheim. Jakub Zaboral, Boston Bruins, 2015 first round pick. Totally doesn't make me want to kill myself.
No.
He is off to New Jersey, and then Malcolm Subban is an unsigned free agent, another failed Boston Bruins prospect as well.
I was going to say, he's still in the league.
Yeah, he's like, I think he was with Buffalo, and then they traded him to Columbus, and he never made it to the actual NHL. He was just in the AHL the whole time.
Yeah. Okay.
So as far as the incoming players that they decided to sign this year, Sean Monahan came over largely due to the fact that his best friend Johnny Gaudreau was there. Unfortunately, as we've already mentioned, that will not be the case. So he had a great year last year. One of the rare guys that gets to play 83 games in a season because he got traded to, what was it, Winnipeg? Pretty early.
Kind of weird.
So he got to 83 games, 26 goals, 33 assists, 59 points. The term's a little high. 5 years, $5.5 million feels like a bit of an overpay. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, for Columbus standards, like this is, I guess, a big deal for them, getting somebody that can, put up over 50 points. So maybe pay him $5 and see what happens. But overall, pretty average grab, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like, when he was in Calgary pretty early on, there was a lot of hope for him. And then they signed him to a big ticket and his play dropped. And then shipping him off to Montreal, he kind of had some up and down years. But Canadians did their job, cashing in on a guy having a career year and shipping him off. And then he picked up where he left off in Winnipeg. So I guess it'll work out probably for the first couple of years, but I'm sure it gets worse as the years go on.
Yeah.
And then they bring in former Blue Jacket and one of the worst players in the NHL who keeps getting jobs, Jack Johnson.
Yeah.
Somehow had 16 points last year. Not sure how.
Not bad for a 37-year-old, I guess.
Yeah, seriously. And he won a cup with the Avs, so his second half of his career wasn't that bad after being kind of a joke no matter where he went. But good for you, Jack Johnson.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 1x775. Yeah. So we'll see how long he stays. No risk, but there are a couple upcoming prospects within the organization that could learn a thing or two from a veteran guy that's won a cup. I mean, not that he really contributed too much to winning the Stanley Cup, but he's been around the boys and he's seen what it takes to get there. So anyone can learn from something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Fantilli obviously is going to need some sort of guidance like that. Be like, maybe he can tell him what Nate does that sets him apart from everybody else. I feel like that's pretty valuable. As far as the prospects that you brought up, your boy, Gavin Brindley, going to be hopefully did he sign this offseason?
I want to say no. I don't think so.
Maybe he did. Yeah, he did.
Oh, he did? Okay.
He did. So Gavin Brindley last year had an insane World Juniors tournament. As you talked about in the World Juniors episode we did. You were grinding.
Oh yeah.
And then in the NCAA last year, 40 games played, 53 points. So, and he's a Michigan boy. So now they have Kent Johnson, Adam Fantilli, and Gavin Brindley all on this team, and Werenski, who is also on the Wolverines. So they're collecting everybody. But Brindley played one game in the NHL last year, so he got to burn off a year of his deal, which is very important to these NCAA guys to get paid as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So I'd assume that he probably makes the roster this year just because they're pretty weak overall. So I like that. Jordan Dumais.
Would he be a junior? Going back to Brindley, would he be a junior going into this season, or would he be a sophomore? Because I feel like if he was a sophomore, he'd probably go back.
No, he was a sophomore because he was the same year because he played with Fantilli. He got drafted the same year.
Oh, okay, all right.
So, fucking dogs, man. Shut up, penis! All right. Jordan Dumais, fucking another guy, winger, a little bit older, 20 years old. He's probably going to play in the AHL. 47 points in the queue, not bad for only playing 21 games.
No.
So that's pretty good. And then they have David Jiricek, who they've been kind of waiting to pop off for a while here. Big, strong Czech defenseman who, hasn't found his place in the NHL yet. 43 games last year, 10 points, but he's still young. I think we get so spoiled with prospects that if they don't come in and light it up right away, we get a little worried.
Yeah.
We did it with Jack Hughes his rookie year. He was pretty shitty, but then he found a way. So I'm not going to write him off just yet. And then we forgot to mention the JVR signing as well.
Oh, right.
That happened yesterday. So UNH legend James Van Riemsdyk off to Columbus.
Signed a 1-9. Good pickup, some more veteran leadership for Columbus. I don't know how old JVR is at this point. 35, 34?
He might be 36. He's pretty old. JVR age.
Yeah, he's sitting right around there. Not bad. I think he almost put up a 40-point season last year. Just big net front presence.
Yep.
So, I mean, I like it. I would have liked to seen him re-sign in Boston, but we'll save that for another day.
Jeremy Swayman refuses to allow the Bruins to make any additional moves.
Yes.
He does not want that happening. All right. So last real move that Columbus made, they sent off Alexander Texier, French dude. He was pretty promising early on in his NHL career, and then I think he went into player assistance or something. He probably dove too deep into the coke pool. Fucking ended up in France for a year, came back, and never really made it back in the NHL. But now he's off to St. Louis. Patrick Laine, that little bitch boy, he's gone. He got traded for Jordan Harris, who's a pretty decent D prospect. But, Laine off to Montreal. We'll get to that in the Montreal breakdown, as Jordan Harris probably isn't going to do too much for the Blue Jackets, just another prospect they can have in their pool.
Yeah.
They also they re-signed a bunch of their guys like Kent Johnson, Cole Sillinger, all-time bag fumbler, Tate McRae. Fucking yeah, that was a mistake. Dylan Gramble, fucking Kirill Marchenko. So they're just doing their thing. They're sticking by. The rebuild's going to continue. I don't expect them to do much this year. You?
I don't expect them to do much the next 7 years.
Yeah, they're going to need Fantilli's going to have to pop off and be like a 100-point player for me to give a fuck about this team.
He's going to have to be like a Rick Nash reincarnated for anyone to give a shit about Columbus ever again. So,
yeah, it's just rough sledding out there. That's pretty much all I got. I don't have anything else to add. Hopefully in 10 years we'll put you as one of the best teams in the NHL, but I wouldn't be too optimistic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, give it a like. We have fucking 7 other more in the YouTube. Mike's laughing at me because he's a douchebag. Social medias, Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, I put up YouTube shorts, whatever the fuck you want. Call your mom. Tell her to subscribe, maybe. I don't know. Stream Young Bug. Stream Bug's Life. right now.
That's old news, man. My career is over.
He's washed. Yeah, who the fuck knows? All right, we will see you guys tomorrow for. Is Dallas up next? Yeah, Dallas. We got Detroit. So, all right. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, if not, I hate you.